Students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you live from Budapest. I hope everybody is having a great week so far. And in this class, we are looking at the speaking section of the IELTS exam, specifically part 3, with some sample questions, some strategies, and some chances for you to express yourself. This lesson is brought to you by aehelp.com for the academic version of the IELTS exam. Check us out there. And for the general version, check us out at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. While some more students join in, I'll quickly show you those websites. This is our academic one here with the blue background. Click that big red button to join our premium package. And for the general version, same idea at gieltshelp.com. Click that big red button. Get access to our practice exams, videos, interactive courses, and much, much more. Also, you can link our app, Academic IELTS Help, to your academic account. I see quite a few members have joined into the class. Hi, Pavan. Hi, Chabi. Hi, Carolina. Hi, Shanghung. Hi, Hassan. Good to see you all. Hi, Awaz and Barendra. Good to see our members and good to see our other students. Pachu. Om Patel saying hello 1,000 times. Hi, Om Patel. All right, everyone. If you have questions about our products or the exam, send an email, adrian@aehelp.com. That's my name, at aehelp.com. Hi, Roshni. Hi, Moro. Again, these classes are according to Central European Time, 15 o'clock. We also have members' classes at 13:30. This is the last class this week. I will be away for the next few days from the 20th to the 25th, and then I will be back on the 26th. I will be releasing some videos for you to watch on the channel until then. Actually, some really great videos that we've been working on, so make sure to check those out. All right, students, so let's get into today's lesson and questions with our speaking part 3 questions. Again, this is a speaking class, and I can't see your faces and I can't hear your voices. However, I do see your comments, and I want to imagine that you are all speaking with me. So make sure that when you hear questions and answers in the class, you do as much repetition as possible. So repeat the questions, repeat the answers. Oftentimes, students focus too much on just the answers and not enough on the questions. Saying the questions, asking questions, helps your thinking, helps to develop your speaking. So focus on questions as much as you focus on answers as well. Parak, thank you very much. All right. Students, part 3 follows part 2. The speaking of the IELTS exam. It's a face-to-face exam for both the computer and paper-based. You go into an interview room with an examiner. And just a quick review, I want to remind those students who know this and teach students who don't. When you go into the speaking exam, there are 2 important steps right before you go in. So 2 important steps right before your interview. What is one of them? Anybody remember from past classes what is one really important step to take or to remember to do before you walk in to your speaking interview? You should be doing this about 5-10 minutes before you walk in to your speaking interview. What is that? What should you do? Let's see if anybody remembers this. So Carolina, yeah, you should go to your interview about 1 hour before, but even 10 minutes before you walk into the exam, you should do something really important that can easily help you to bump up your band score. Taylor says, drink a Red Bull. That might not actually be good, Taylor. Your brain might start moving too fast, and it might actually be counterproductive. All right. I don't see the answer coming up yet, so I'll give it to you. Go through your mental checklist. What is that? What does that mean, go through your mental checklist before you walk into your speaking exam? This is extremely important. Students, this can be the difference of one man, okay? Okay? This is one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you to help you get a high band score, is go through your mental checklist 5 minutes before you walk in. What does that mean? Okay. What is that? Anybody? All right. So when you're studying for the speaking part of the exam, you should think about what you need to do to get high band scores. And the mental checklist will be different for different students. This checklist comes from your weaknesses. So when you're practicing for the IELTS speaking, you should figure out what parts you often forget to do. Okay, so if you often forget to give examples for your explanations, then in your mental checklist, you might have something like give examples. And your mental checklist can actually be a piece of paper, so you can write these down. Okay, for high band scores, you should always include some examples into your answers. So, for example, give examples. Or maybe you often forget to use correlative conjunctions. So on your mental checklist, you might have use correlative conjunctions, okay? Which means using both and, neither, nor, whether, or. Using correlative conjunctions can help increase your score, all right? Helps your fluency as well. Or many students are really nervous before their speaking interviews. So on your mental checklist, you might have something like stay confident, remember to breathe. Okay? Having that on a piece of paper and reading it before your interview can actually help you to calm down. Okay? So Amay the dog says, oh, on my mental checklist, Amay would add, remember to connect. Yeah, Amay, a lot of students forget this, so it's a good one. Remember to connect part 3 with part 2. Okay? There are a lot of points that you can include on your mental checklist. You should write the ones down that you often forget so that you remember those. Okay? Another one, of course, might be reflect the grammar of questions. So if the question's present perfect, then the answer is present perfect. Okay? So remember that mental checklist. Your mental checklist should have about 5-6 points. Don't overdo it. Okay? Don't put like 20 points on your mental checklist because then it's not going to be effective. So if you have that many points, you're just going to forget them by the time you read them. Short-term memory store for humans is between 5 to 9 objects, somewhere usually 7. That's why phone numbers are around that amount. So keep that in mind, okay? So at most 7 different points, no more, okay? Don't put down like 20 points. That's not good, all right? Just the main ones that are important for you, okay? Yes, eye contact is important, and if you have difficulty keeping eye contact in your conversations, then maybe write down make eye contact, okay? All right, so that's one really important step right before your official IELTS interview is have your mental checklist. Again, I call it a mental checklist, but you could have just a piece of paper, an actual paper checklist, and read it right before your exam, then throw it in the garbage or put it in your pocket, okay? Now, there's one more point to remember. What's the second important point? And this you should remember right as you walk in to the exam. So first one, mental checklist. What's the second point? What's the second really important point to reflect on before you go in? Chabi says make sure to talk English on that day when you have your exam. That's good advice. That's not what I'm thinking, Chabi. There's another one. Koga, please write English, since it's an English class, in the chat. And people are from all over the world, Koga, so it's only fair. Awaz says, try to speak with other candidates. That gets your confidence going. It also gets your fluency going. That's a really good advice as well. Awaz, that's not what I'm thinking. Okay? I'm thinking something a little bit different. Hi, Lau. I'm doing great. Thank you. The second really important point to remember is visualize the examiner as your grandfather or grandmother. Of course, based on their gender. If it's a woman, it might be easier to visualize a grandmother or a grandfather. Why do I say that? Because that will remind you right away to speak loud, clear, with detail, respectfully. Don't assume they know what you know. Speak in full sentences. And, of course, you feel comfortable with grandparents. Most of us. They love you, and the sun will shine tomorrow. It will help you to be a little bit more comfortable, okay? So some people try to visualize the examiner as their friend. That's not a good idea because then you might speak a little bit too simple. Some people visualize it as a job interview. That's not good either because people often get nervous in job interviews, try to be too formal. So the best visualization is grandfather, grandmother. So make sure that you visualize that, okay? So these are the two really important points to keep in mind when you're going for your speaking interview. Go through your mental checklist. That's going to be different for everyone based on your weaknesses, and visualize the examiner as your grandfather, grandmother. Take a deep breath and then walk in. Some other advice that our members and students were giving were also notable, meaning go to the interview about an hour early so you can get familiar with your surroundings, get comfortable, speak English, find another person to talk to, okay? A lot of students try to read English before their speaking exam. That's okay, it's better than nothing, but it's much better to speak than to read, okay? It's not a reading exam, that's on a different day or at a different time. Okay, so keeping these points in mind and some of these points that I wrote down for the mental checklist, let's get into part 3. That's good advice too, Chabi. Use Cambly. It's an app that lets you connect with a tutor anywhere, anytime. They're one of our sponsors, one of our partners. Highly recommend them. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So now, keeping these in mind, let's get into some questions and answers. Part 3, the examiner will continue in this part by saying, okay, that is the end of part 2. Now we will continue with part 3. For part 3, I will ask you some more questions related to the topic of part 2. That's a hint. That means you should connect your ideas. Let's talk about complaining. Ooh, okay, complaining. All right. First question. What are common situations in society where people make complaints? Okay. What are common situations in society? Let's make that a little clearer. When people make complaints. Give me a nice full sentence answer for that. Use the grammar of the question. Okay. Perhaps include an example. Focus on paraphrasing. Focus on joining your ideas. Okay. Satisfying Time says well-known situations where individuals complain is when neighbors make lots of noise in buildings, in apartment buildings. Also, when a teacher is not doing their job properly, parents report them to the authorities. Okay, Chabi, good. Well-known is a conjoined word, Chabi, with the hyphen. So it's well-known, well-known. Okay. All right. Carolina says, nowadays, there are typical situations where people frequently complain, like hotels, restaurants, and stores. This behavior has increased through the internet because customers can give a review. Very good, Carolina. I love how you brought a little bit of technology into that. Take out the word about, okay? Complain, okay? So where people frequently complain, like hotels, restaurants, and stores, okay? Yes, Juan Pablo, I'm sure some students are preloading their ideas. Absolutely. Okay. Vikrant says, when a government official is not working as expected. Vikrant, use the question, okay? Everyday situations where people complain are when government officials are not working as expected. What do you mean, Vikrant? Explain that to me. Okay. A good Band 8, Band 9 answer should take about as much space or as many words as you can write in one chat comment. I think it's 120 characters, I believe. Okay. Sahad says, life is always a test where we will have to face a lot of hurdles. People always go on with ease and thereby find something to complain in each and every situation they face. Sahad, that does not answer this question. What are common situations where people complain? I think your answer is good English, but it's off topic. So it gets a low band score. It gets like a band score 5 or 6. The examiner's not sure if you're just kind of memorizing certain phrases and putting them together and making them fit for just about any question. So you have to be specific. You have to answer these questions specifically, okay? And he says the most common situations, I think, are irregular parking habits in the neighborhood. Like a few days back, people complained about a neighbor who keeps parking his car in one of the neighbor's driveways. Okay, NA, that's great. All right. Shang Hung says, I think that the most frequently heard situation where people complain are political issues, especially as we often see on TV. I always hear people complaining about policies that never become reality. Okay? Yeah, in Shanghai, you might even say something like, the mayor promised to build a new recreation center in our neighborhood and never delivered, so there were a lot of complaints. Okay? Remember those examples. All right. Morrow says, oh, one of the usual instances where individuals complain often is when they're stuck in traffic. Last week when I was stuck in Heavy Conjunction, nobody could move. Everybody was honking their horn and yelling out their windows. Morrow, nice. Okay, so quite a few different ones there. Visualize your answers, students. Again, the trick to those high band scores is answer, explain, example. Okay, so there are several everyday instances where people voice their frustrations publicly, such as when they are stuck in traffic or when their food at a restaurant is cold, or perhaps if their bed sheets are dirty in their hotel rooms. I heard a lot of people shouting out their car windows and honking their horns on my way to work the other day when a truck was blocking the intersection, causing a major pileup. Okay? All right. So here's a nice complete answer. Make sure, students, that you stay on point. Don't overspeak, don't underspeak. You have to also adjust how much you say according to your fluency. So if you have a good level of fluency, a band 7 or higher fluency, then this is roughly your target, okay? As long as you stay on topic, the examiner will not interrupt you, all right? Even if they do, if you know what you're saying, you can just finish and then go to their next question. So repeat after me. What are common situations in society when people make complaints? This is a conditional. It's a real condition using when. There are several everyday instances where people voice their frustrations publicly, such as when they are stuck in traffic, or when their food at a restaurant is cold, or perhaps if their bed sheets are dirty in their hotel rooms. I heard a lot of people shouting out their car windows and honking their horns on my way to work the other day when a truck was blocking the intersection, causing a major pileup. Okay? Now, of course, you're thinking, well, Adrian, you're using a lot of words there that are not in my everyday vocabulary. That's okay. I'm also teaching you vocabulary as we do this speaking. So a pileup, this word, comes from two words, pile up. Pile means to put on top, and up means upward, but we can use this in traffic when cars are stacked against each other. It's called a pileup, okay? Instances or occurrences is a nice paraphrase for situation. So again, make sure you're repeating these. Instances, occurrences, situations, okay? And notice how often I use the condition here. When they are stuck in traffic, when their food is cold, okay? When a truck was blocking the intersection. I'm making it really clear for the examiner that I'm identifying this real condition and I can use it effectively in my speech, okay? So make sure to reflect grammar. All right, now comes the follow-up question. And there are always follow-up questions, or often follow-up questions for part 3. Here's our follow-up question. Why are these common situations? So why does this happen often? So why do people get frustrated? Why are these common situations? So give me a nice full sentence for this one, okay? So Charlie Sen says, I think these are common situations because we face these scenarios frequently. Nowadays, we are habituated, like the problem with our neighbor who listens to music very loud, faces these issues as well. Okay, Charlie, not bad. A little bit off with the grammar, but overall not bad. Okay. All right, Juan Pablo says they are usual scenarios because it is in relation to people's mood most of the time. People in customer service as well as clients can misunderstand attitudes. Sometimes complaining is right because, careful Juan, don't go off topic. We're not really asking why it's okay to complain. We're just asking why these are common situations. Okay. All right. Carolina says people have a right to good service and should expect it and demand it. Since they pay for it. Otherwise, they will express their negative opinions to others. Before I try a new restaurant, I always check reviews. Okay, Carolina, I like the start that people have a right to good service and have a right to complain. I think you kind of go a little bit away from answering the specific follow-up after. Try to stick to it a little bit more, okay? All right, Sahad says people always expect things to be at their fingertips. They always expect their daily life to be easy, and if this is not the case, then they frequently complain, such as in these situations which I just mentioned. Okay, so you can connect between your answers as well. Violetta Castro says these are common situations because people don't have control over them, but they wish that they did. Okay? All right, so Violetta says these are common situations because they occur frequently in society, such as getting stuck in traffic on the way to work. But people do not have control over them. Nevertheless, they wish they did, and they react negatively. In addition, people expect good service for their hard-earned money, and when they do not get it, it can be extremely upsetting. All right. So, repeat after me. Why are these common situations? These are common occurrences because they happen frequently in society, such as getting stuck in traffic on the way to work. But people do not have control over them. Nevertheless, they wish they did, and they react negatively. In addition, people expect good service for their hard-earned money, and when they do not get it, it can be extremely upsetting, so they complain. Okay, let's finish that idea. Okay, students, let's go to the next one. Have the way people complained these days changed compared to 20 years ago? So have the way people complained changed these days compared to 20 years ago? Give me a nice full sentence for this one. Chabi says, yes, it has definitely changed over the last couple decades. Remember your present perfect, Chabi. It used to be face-to-face or through the mail. But nowadays, with the advancement of technology, people can give instant feedback through their phones about products. For example, App Store individuals can complain about application bugs. And boy, do people ever complain. Let me tell you, I know. Some people complain about our app before really testing it out. It's sad but true. We have to be perfect, us app creators. All right. Pavan says, absolutely yes. People never speak about or never spoke about climate change a couple of decades ago. As of now, climate emergency has become an issue and it causes problems for mental health and stress. Pavan, I think you start with the right idea, but then you go off topic and you're focusing about the negative effects of climate change. But we're not asking you that question. The examiner is asking you about the mode or the method of complaining. How has that changed from years prior? Okay, so make sure students always stay specific to the question. If you do not answer the question accurately, then your coherence and fluency score goes down. That's your most important score in the official band score descriptors. And if your coherence score is down, then you start losing band scores very quickly. Okay, so be really careful with coherence. Coherence means that you're answering the question exactly that you're being asked. Okay? All right. So, Sahad says, definitely the methods of complaining has changed over the passage of time. It was just face-to-face in the past, but now with the evolution of technology, it is done through the internet. Okay, Sahad, I had to change some words. Careful with your word choice. Some of those words are a little bit awkward in that context. Okay. All right, Rihan Mahmoud says, the way of complaining has undergone a significant change in the past 2 decades. Individuals used to complain through a complaint box, but now they do it through email. Rihan, very good. Again, just a couple of corrections with word form choice and grammar. All right. NA says, yes, it definitely has. People have now become more vociferous due to credit of technology. Everybody can instantly complain about anything that disturbs them. I'm not sure if I can well, maybe. Yeah, maybe anything. Careful with the word anything. Roshni says, oh my gosh, absolutely. Nowadays, the way people complain has changed tremendously compared to 20 years before. People complain using social media like SMS because it's convenient and quick. Okay, convenient and easy, Roshni, are synonyms, so don't double up on those words. I love how you're using natural language, Roshni. You definitely pick up band scores for that. So when you sound original, when you sound like you have your own diction, which means your own style of using English accurately, then you will definitely be closer to that band 9 expert user. Absolutely. Okay. Pachu says, yes, of course, the way people complained these days have changed over the past 2 decades because of technology. Now people write emails and post social media. Good. Oh, wow. Yes, absolutely. The methods of complaining have changed tremendously over the last 2 decades with advancements in technology. In the past, people gave their 2 bits either face to face or by sending a letter. However, nowadays, it is much faster and more effective through social media. People can post their complaints immediately on sites like Facebook and influence hundreds of people. In fact, I just saw one of my friends complaining in a post about a burger joint down the street from my place. Okay? All right. Again, students, if you have the fluency and you're practicing the answer explanation example, then this is your Band 9 response. If not, keep it shorter. I'll show you both versions, okay? I'll show you a Band 9 version, and I'll show you what you should do if you have a little bit lower fluency and you're going for a Band 7. So this is the Band 9, what you see here. Just repeat after me. Have the way people complained these days changed compared to 20 years ago? Oh, wow, yes, absolutely. The methods of complaining have changed tremendously over the last 2 decades with advancements in technology. In the past, people gave their 2 bits either face-to-face or by sending a letter. However, nowadays, it is much faster and more effective through social media. People can post their complaints immediately on sites like Facebook and influence hundreds of people. In fact, I just saw one of my friends complain in a post about a burger joint down the street from my place. Okay, that's Band 9, high-level fluency, high-level lexical resource, good coherence, good grammar range and accuracy. Okay, if you're a little bit slower, it's fine. If you have a little bit lower vocabulary, it's fine. You can still do really well. Aim for a slightly shorter response. Start with, yes, absolutely. Complaining has changed in the last 2 decades with technology. People used to complain face-to-face, but now they complain through social media. People post their complaints on sites like Facebook. My friend just complained about a restaurant the other day in a post. Okay, that would be your Band 7. So it's simpler. It's okay if you make a couple mistakes, if it's not flawless, as I just said. Just keep it a little bit shorter. Okay, so cut out some of the extensive word explanations. All right. So then comes a follow-up question. And our follow-up question here is, can you give an example? So 2 very common types of follow-up questions that you can see in part 3 are, can you give an example and can you elaborate? Okay, so can you give an example and can you elaborate? Now here, we already gave an example with Facebook and complaining about a burger place in a post by my friend, but instead of repeating that, okay, I just want to say briefly that yes, as I mentioned, my friend just complained about a burger place, and a lot of people complain and then elaborate a little bit more. So always give a little bit of extra. Don't just repeat and don't just say, yes, I just gave you an example. Okay. All right. Rihan Mahmoud says, last Saturday, I made a complaint about a government employee for taking a bribe from me, and I voiced my opinion to the police through email. They took action right away. Rihan, you have a good idea. Practice your grammar, Okay? Do lots of reading and listening to English and grammar practice from grammar books, Rihan. Make sure to improve your grammar, Rihan, to improve your score. Okay? Carolina says, on one occasion, I was sold moldy strawberries. Oh, sorry, served. Okay, Carolina, let me start that one more time. On one occasion, I was served moldy strawberries on an Avianca flight. I used the courier service to send the fruit to the airline's chief executive. To compensate, Avianca invited me and my mother to personally inspect the airline's catering facilities. Carolina, okay, that's an interesting example. Good. It's very unique. It's very original. It's nice. All right. Juan Pablo says, as an example, there are sites for selling online where if sellers have bad reviews or public complaints, they can lose customers. People can also be bad clients. Good sellers can avoid to sell. Juan, try to be a little bit more specific. So what comes to mind is eBay. Okay. Use that in your example. So say there are sites for selling and buying online like eBay, where if people get bad reviews, they can be kicked off of the site and lose their customers. In fact, I just made a complaint about an eBay retailer who was selling knockoff products. Okay, so be more specific, Juan. More specific when you're asked for an example. Hassan says, last month I purchased a Kindle Oasis from Amazon, and when it arrived to my home, I discovered that the screen was damaged. So I complained to customer service and they gave me a refund. Hassan, good. Okay. All right, good. Just watch your grammar, Hassan. Watch your grammar. Okay. Here I'll give you an example as well. So certainly, aside from the example of my friend complaining about the burger restaurant, there are often reviews given on Google for all types of venues. In fact, I canceled a reservation at a sushi restaurant last week because I checked its reviews on Google and there were a lot of complaints about the freshness of the food. Okay? All right. So can you give an example? It's just one example. So certainly, aside from the example of my friend complaining about the burger restaurant, that's my connection. Okay? Making this kind of connection to a previous comment or answer is really good for your coherence score. There are often reviews given on Google for all types of venues. In fact, I canceled a reservation at a sushi restaurant last week because I checked its reviews on Google and there were a lot of complaints about the freshness of the food. Okay. So here is our next question. How can people complain effectively? Okay, give me a nice full sentence answer for this one. So how can people complain effectively? Preeti says, people can complain effectively through either customer service or directly write an email to the manager so that they can resolve the action or the problem as soon as possible. Can take the trigger action, Preeti, is unclear. I'm not sure where you got that from. But I do love how you used a correlative conjunction. So it's really nice, students, to use these conjunctions like either or. And Preeti's using that. And absolutely, as an examiner, Preeti, I will catch when you use either or. And I will give you better band scores when I hear those because it's more coherent, It's more fluent. It's better lexical resource. It's more natural. Okay. Satisfying times. Chabi says the most effective method of complaining is gathering all the people that have a similar issue and making a group complaint together to the authorities to help fix the problem quickly. Chabi, very creative. I like it. Okay. Why is it effective to complain in larger groups? Can you give me an example? Okay. Karen, technical point, just bring it, says, well, there are several steps which can be helpful to overcome these kinds of issues, such as traffic and pollution. Maybe make a group of people who share these frustrations and make complaints on social media. Karen, technical, not bad. Make sure that you use the question so that you are clearly focusing on the right answer right away. Okay. Ame says people can complain effectively by approaching the appropriate authorities and in the correct manner, just like using customer service links on mobile apps. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Tariku Abebe says people can complain effectively only if they can describe the reasons for why they're complaining clearly. Yes, Tariku, I agree with you, and that's another reason to learn English well, because oftentimes people are complaining using English in our global world, and it's very difficult to help a person when it's unclear what they're complaining about or why they are complaining about it, and that can escalate the situation. Deng Yuan says, complaining should be done in a constructive manner with supporting and detailed information, always thinking about practical solutions. It is preferable to escalate the complaint to staff who are in charge of the department and customer service. Okay, done. Not bad. The beginning is very good. Just a couple slight mistakes. A little bit more awkward near the end. All right. So the best policy when complaining to come up with a viable solution is to speak to the right, is to not only speak with the right authority, but also to describe the situation with as much detail as possible. Just last week, I had to express in detail that the temperature gauge was malfunctioning on my air conditioner, and it was a bit challenging. All right. So repeat after me. How can people complain effectively? The best policy when complaining to come up with a viable solution is to not only speak with the right authority, but also to describe the situation with as much detail as possible. Just last week, I had to express in detail that the temperature gauge was malfunctioning on my air conditioner. So I called customer service, and it was a bit challenging to explain my situation clearly. Okay. Viable, another word for viable here is workable solution. Okay. teach you a couple of new vocabulary there. It means that it can be implemented. It can be done. Okay? All right. Next question. What are ineffective ways of complaining? So often in speaking part 3, when the examiner asks you one side of the question, like what are the advantages of, you can almost guess that the next question coming afterwards is going to be the opposite side. And what are the disadvantages of, especially if it's clear that there are both. So it's no surprise that here the follow-up question is, what are ineffective ways of complaining? Okay. Neem No says probably the most ineffective method to complain is violence. It ruins friendships between people and can even result in serious injury and criminal offense. Neem No. Nice. Okay. I just finished that sentence for you. It was a great start. All right. Let's see some more answers from students. Carolina Asano says, screaming and shouting is a complete waste of time and is usually directed at a person who is not in the position to do anything, so it is best avoided. Yeah, Carolina, yeah. Okay. Waste of time is a nice synonym, Carolina, for ineffective. Morrow says, well, I guess one of the pointless ways to complain is encounter or get involved into conflict with customer service. Perhaps it might have repercussions for it. Yeah, I agree, students. It's not good to shout and yell and fight. It's usually not solution-oriented approach to fixing a problem. Tenzing Lama says, ineffective ways of complaining are talking harshly with the opposition and behaving in a rude way. Tenzing, okay, good. Awaz Aksmadov, in my opinion, ineffective ways of complaining is when people cannot describe the issue, which creates the problem for them in public. Okay. All right. No, Hitesh, IELTS does not deal in scholarships. They are an examination board. Thank you for that question. Hikmatillo says, if I had to take a guess, I would have to say that one of the most ineffective ways is when people shout and mutter at the waitress while ordering food, even if they are polite. Okay, Hikmatillo, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about there. I think you need to express yourself a little bit clearer before giving the example of the waiter or the waitress. Okay? All right. Doug Nguyen says, by contrast to constructive criticism, negative, irrational, and exaggerated reviews would be counterproductive. They lead to unexpected arguments, conflicts, and even fighting. Okay, good. So, I think the most counterproductive approaches to criticizing are shouting and fighting. When people do this, they very rarely accomplish what they actually wanted to, and in some cases it may even backfire and land them in trouble with the police. All right. So some more vocabulary there for you. Repeat after me. What are ineffective ways of complaining? I think the most counterproductive approaches to criticizing are shouting and fighting. When people do this, they very rarely accomplish what they actually wanted to. And in some cases, it may even backfire and land them in trouble with the police. All right. So backfire means that instead of the situation being resolved and action being taken against the person who maybe created the problem, now action is taken against them. So backfire, it comes from the use of the gun when you shoot a gun, and instead of the bullet going forward, it comes backward, hits the person who's shooting. It's called a backfire. Okay. All right. Land them in trouble. Land them here is an expression which means put them into a situation. Counterproductive with the hyphen is a very useful contraction of these two words. Okay, counterproductive. Remember the meaning of that. So it means it's the opposite of being productive. Okay, and then if you're doing a really good job in speaking part 3, you can usually know that because the examiner has lots of questions and they might go into another related topic for part 2. Let's talk about solving problems. What are the basic steps to solving a problem in everyday life? Can you elaborate on that? People often say that to solve problems effectively, it is important to think outside of the box. What does this mean? Can you give an example? Students, these last few questions, this section, I will leave you to think about and practice over the next few days. That's it. That's all the time I had for today. To learn lots more, to watch lots of great video lessons in HD quality, make sure to join our premium package at aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com. You can do that by going to our websites, clicking that big red button, spending a couple dollars, and learning from some of the best IELTS materials online. This is our aehelp.com website here with the red button there for you. Of course, there's 6 original practice exams, and you can use these sites on your phone, tablet, computer. They're fully responsive. I will be back with speaking part 1 on November 26th, and then we will have 5 days of classes back to back. Thank you for wishing me well on my journey. I appreciate so many students being in on this class. Have an awesome rest of your week. Get lots done, study hard, and I will see you when I come back. Much love to all of you. Believe in yourselves. I believe in you. Bye for now.